everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm Alex, and today I got a new set of gouache paint from a family member as a gift, and I'm really excited because I've never ever used gouache paint in my life, and I was like, this sounds really cool. So we are going to be trying it for the first time ever. Here I'm doing a little swatch card type thing. I got a set, I was given a set of 24 colors, which includes some metallic colors. So we'll see in a second when I finish this swatch card. But I feel like there's a nice range of reds. There's only 2 yellows, but honestly that's all I really need. There's a nice number. There's like 3 blues. There's only 1 purple, but there's white, of course, so you can mix any new color that you need. And the metallic colors are really exciting. Here, to try them out, I'm drawing a eyeball. Of course, my favorite thing to draw pretty much ever. I draw them all of the time, and they're pretty easy and simple. So yeah. I'm drawing this eye. I really like this eye, how it came out in the end. You're gonna see. I'm practicing with gouache paint. The idea that I don't really have to draw everything first. So you see how I drew the dot in the eye, and I tried to erase it, but my eraser was not that great because I realized I don't really need that dot because of the fact that it's gonna get covered up by the gouache paint, and then I can add it back. Because gouache paint is like, in my mind, even now using it, I feel like it's basically a mixture between acrylic and watercolor. I think that gouache paint is actually technically able to replace watercolor because you can water it down just like watercolor and then use it. The only thing is, of course, because it is an opaque paint, when you're going to use it, you have to dilute it a lot more, which actually is good for saving on paint. Because for watercolor, if you wanted a light color, you would just add more water to your paint. For gouache, if you wanted a light color, you would just keep dabbing drops of paint into your water to make it lighter. So yeah. Here I am using the aspect that this is an opaque paint so I can cover up some of the black that I had messed up with on her eyelashes. I'm really happy that I can cover up mistakes and try again. The thing with using gouache like watercolor and diluting it is I have noticed that it dries a lot faster. I'm still using this on watercolor paper, and I've noticed that the gouache dries a lot faster and you have a little bit of a shorter time to blend it out. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, it's just a thing that I'm learning about this. So yeah. Gouache paint is nice because I can use it thick and I can use it kind of like line art a bit with my skinny brushes. I can use it thin to kind of just paint over an entire broad space, or I can just, do whatever. So I'm really happy with this. Here I'm using a bit of a bigger brush to just draw out an eyebrow, because I didn't draw an eyebrow, and I was like, I think she'd look much better with an eyebrow. And it's just nice. I can just add it on top. Oh, and something I also forgot about, of course, is that white eye shine. I've worked with some opaque things. Like, for some reason, when I work with acrylic paint, the eye shines don't come out that bright. So with this, it came out really bright, and I was really happy. So honestly, gouache is amazing right now. I am in love with it. It's great. And I just feel like it's kind of like my favorite thing, just upgraded. So yeah. Here, now I'm drawing kind of like a portrait, of course not of myself, but I'm drawing a little portrait of a girl just to see how it works with smaller things like small eyes and small nose and a smaller face and other stuff like that. Also with this, there's gonna be a couple of jump cuts. Don't mind them. It's just that my camera kept falling over because I'm doing a little bit of a newer setup and my camera fell over a lot. So don't mind how much the angle changes. So, for this girl, basically, I saw this other drawing and I was inspired by it, so I kind of drew something a bit similar to it, but it's pretty different. Anyway, I wanted to, for her skin, first go over it with a light color, like I would do with watercolor, but I learned that with gouache paint, that first splotch that I put down on her face is still quite noticeable, even after I have tried to blend it out, because that part has sunk into the paper. So I just made her skin a bit darker. Also, I've noticed that gouache paint has a lot more of an ugly face, if that's what you want to call it, because right now, that face is looking crazy. But once I continue on with it, it's not going to look as crazy. With watercolor, it doesn't have as much of an ugly face, at least in my opinion, just because it's pretty see-through, so I can see my sketch through it, and the details pretty much never leave. With this, her face now looks kind of really flat and odd, but the ugly face will pass. Now I was painting in her lips. It's pretty nice because with colors that I want to be nice and opaque, I did try with her lip. I made the top lip darker and the bottom lip lighter, but I did that by diluting the color that I used for the bottom lip, which just made the top and the bottom lip mix. So with gouache paint, you probably don't want to use wet paint right under paint that is not dry if you do not want them to blend, because they'll probably blend. And then here on her sweater, I'm using blue. Basically this whole spread's theme is blue, so I'm going to have blue throughout this entire spread, which I think is really cute and makes it very cohesive. And then here's where I tried to add blush. I learned that with gouache paint, at least in my experience on this paper, doesn't really blend too well once it's dried with a new layer of paint. So when it's dried on your palette, you can add water and you can revive it and go back to using it once you put it on paper and it's dry. If you're trying to add something like blush, it doesn't blend out that well. So make sure you only add a little bit and then spread it out nice. So, oh well. I think also with gouache paint, it's really nice to have lots of different sized brushes. So I was able to do her eyebrows with just one stroke because of my different brush size and because of the opacity of the paint. It looks great without me having to keep going over it or redraw it or something. So something else that I learned about this, learned from this, is that when layering the same color paint on top to add details to the hair, when it dries, it dries a lot lighter than you initially put it down, so it isn't as strong. Like, you see how many times I went over her hair to add lines and stuff? The lines, you can barely see them now. I feel like I've seen a lot of paintings with gouache where it's kind of more flat color and more of a cartoony thick shading style. And I think that actually works really well with gouache, or like to use a smaller brush to add shading that's just a different color. I think that would work really well. I haven't tried that yet, so I'm not sure. But I've learned that also when you re-wet dry paint that's already on the paper, it appears like grayer for a long period of time. But it eventually goes back to normal. here I'm trying to use some of my watercolor things that I do. So I wanted her skin to look a bit more smoother, a bit smoother. So I went over it with a wet brush, which, I mean, it kind of worked, kind of didn't work. My favorite thing, of course, about this, which is kind of obvious, my favorite thing about gouache paint is when I accidentally color the eye white, I can just go over it with white. And it works, and it's amazing. And I'm so happy about that. And then here, I wanted to add a little pink circle behind her. Well, it's more like a magenta circle behind her, which is still pink. But anyway, that was a side tangent. But I wanted to add that behind her. And now we are doing the last painting. This painting I'm very excited about, and I think that you'll be able to guess what it is in just a second. So, for this painting that I'm working on the sketch for right now, I wanted to include a couple different elements that I would get to paint in it, because I honestly had a plan to paint like 6 different things, and then reality came in and was like, Alex, remember, you actually have to paint these. You actually have to do it. So I realized that I can't do all those paintings. So yeah, I had to downscale my plan just a bit, just for it to actually work. But yeah. With this painting, as you can probably see now, so I'm just gonna tell you, it's a cat in the middle of some sunflowers. And I thought that was so cute. I saw a painting of it and I was like, that's amazing. I need to make my own. I'm happy with this for 2 reasons. 1, because most of the time I cannot draw cats, and 2, because it came out very well for only my 3rd gouache painting. But yeah. Okay, so now with this painting, I used very diluted color as my base color. And then, just like I do for my watercolor, I don't wait for it to dry, I just dry it up with a napkin. 1, because it helps the paint to be more flat colored, and it makes it so it's not soaking wet and it actually can dry. Now I'm going in with the blue on the bow and the eyes. And I'm painting the nose pink, of course. I planned this. This is the one drawing that I planned before painting it, just because I needed to practice drawing cats. But yeah. And then for the sky, I'm doing a super diluted blue color just to get the base down. And again, this was actually really nice because since it's an opaque paint, I didn't really have to worry about trying to not color in all my sunflowers, because I can just go over it with the yellow anyway. If this was watercolor paint, I would be like, oh man, I messed it up. Now my sunflowers are going to be green. But with this paint, it works pretty well. And I used some diluted white on the cat's face because I wanted the cheeks to be white, but I kind of forgot and painted them. So yeah. And I'm just coloring in the sunflowers. So, something else I learned from this painting is that gouache paint, actually, if I had like a fountain pen, I feel like it would work very well to do line art as well. Because gouache paint does not activate itself. So even if you use wet gouache paint, it doesn't really activate the gouache paint that you already put on the thing. So I think that trying to use it for line art would actually work really well. I would need a skinnier brush to try it out though, because I did try, but it didn't come out the best, so I had to go back to using my fine liner. With gouache, I feel like I can't really reach the amount of detail that I want, which I probably can. I'm just not, because I don't want to accidentally mess it up. So after I get to whatever level of detail I can reach, I use my black pen to outline, and then I use pencils for instance, like the last drawing, I used the pencils for the hair. really love these paintings, and I'm very happy that these are my first gouache paintings because they came out nice. The only thing that I would say that is a little bit of a downside to the gouache paint is that, of course, it does cover up my sketch quite a bit, but that's kind of a good thing because that's kind of its job. But yeah, I really liked working with it, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and learned something. Thank you all for watching. Bye, guys.